It's now March 2020, and I've been living in the middle of central Illinois in a small town basically in the middle of nowhere. So I'm basically living with my dad and his sort of slapped together step family in Spring Bay, Illinois, which has a population of about 500 people. So it's been pretty different. The first few months I mostly focused on getting my body in shape. I was primarily focused on dieting and losing weight. Weight-wise, it's been pretty amazing. All the exercise I've been doing over the last couple of months has really started to pay off. When I moved out of San Francisco, I was about 220 pounds. And that was really good. You know, that was a pretty good improvement from 255. But now I'm down to 185. And it's a little there's some psychological aspects to it that are not great. You wake up every day, sometimes you go up a couple of pounds, sometimes you go down a couple of pounds because your water weight fluctuates. You're constantly like watching what you eat. Sometimes you get away with eating candy because you just can't fucking resist it. You're like, for some reason I'm addicted to peanut butter now, which was never a thing before. So I constantly eat all these Snickers peanut butter candies, and they're so fucking good, but I have to avoid them. Anytime there's a Donut Wednesday at work, I have to be careful because, like, you know, you think in your head, I'm just going to eat one, and then you end up eating 5 of them because your body is not regularly taking in sugar. So that's it's difficult, and that's been a challenge. Is the last month or two I've started to go on the slow downtick. You know, when I was losing like 8 or 9 pounds a month, I was over the moon about it. I'm like, holy shit. But now with the same amount of exercise and the same amount of dieting, I'm tapering off at about 1 to 3 pounds a month. And sometimes that comes back and goes away later on. So that's a little maddening. And then around December, I suddenly was told that I needed to get a job. Okay, fine. So I ended up getting some tests done that was required by the job. Basically I had to do like an hour-long physical, lifting my legs and lifting like heavy boxes and shit. And then I had to go, you know, take some kind of weird psychological test, some kind of aptitude test for mechanical knowledge and things like that. So we get all that out of the way, and December comes around. The HR lady here at the factory says, hey, you know, we'd love to hire you. So I started out working as a material handler in a blue-collar job in a podunk town with less than 500 people living in it. In fact, the amount of staff working for the factory is about half the population of the town itself. So the last couple of months, I've primarily just been working at a book factory making books. And what books they are! Basically, like, we have either giant cookbooks with things to extend your lifespan that are sponsored by National Geographic, or we have weird one-off books that are about obscure topics, or we have books about Jesus. So I work on a machine that basically the responsibility is to take the blocks, the centerpiece of the book, and put them on a conveyor belt. Those go into a machine that spits glue on them and slaps a cover on, and then it puts it inside of another machine that spins it around in a centrifuge and then spits it out onto another conveyor belt that a different person stacks into a box, puts onto another conveyor belt. Machine will tape that box shut, and then somebody picks up the box and puts them in a pile. So it's a little absurd. It's not a bad job. I am getting a little tired of it, mostly because I went up to MEPS recently, and about a month ago, I think, and I swore in. I'm now part of the Air Force's delayed entry program, and that's about it. I'm supposed to wait. I have no information on when I'm going to get my desired job. It's a little frustrating. It's a little frustrating to wake up every day and say, yes, time for another 8 hours at the factory. And then you come home and you're too drained to do anything. It's not that I really expect that kind of dynamic to change when I'm going into the military, but the waiting period, being stuck in the middle of nowhere, driving a shitty, rusty truck, and having like sort of ambiguous uncertainty about whether or not to stick with my relationship or not, because I have no idea how much time I still have to spend here. It's a little frustrating. So at the moment, that's kind of what I'm going through, is this idea that like, hey, stuck in the middle of nowhere, it's constantly cold, I have to constantly be on a diet and eat shitty food and go to a shitty job, and I have no idea when I'm supposed to get out, and the relationships at home are sometimes pretty toxic. The good news is that I've discovered a new diet, so I don't have to starve anymore. In the past, I was just like purely on Slim Fast, and that was really fucking hard. But the good news is that now, basically in the morning, I have a banana, a cup of coffee, 2 eggs, a cup of orange juice, whey protein with milk, and Atkins cashew nut bar that kind of tastes like a Snickers. So I have all that. It's about 800 calories in the morning. I go and I work out. I'm now doing resistance training as well as cardio. And then in the afternoon, I come back, I have a Healthy Choice bowl, eat that, gulp it down, go to work, have another Healthy Choice bowl for my work lunch, which is around, 8 o'clock at night. And that's my 3 meals for the day, is, something that isn't heavy in salt, isn't heavy in fat, doesn't contain any fried elements. And once a week, maybe I'll have like a cheeseburger or something to reward myself. Because you have to sort of cheat on your diet a little bit every once in a while. And that's kind of the principle, is that I've managed to taper my weight down. I'm down to 185, which I'm very grateful for. When I went to MEPS, I actually did a 3-day fast, which was very brutal, and I managed to get down to 186 at the time. The weekend before, I was like almost 190 because I ate something at Buffalo Wild Wings, and I was just like, fuck. So yeah, the point is that things are making good progress, but being stuck out here and having to focus on nothing but numbers and the slow drag of time is extremely depressing. And sometimes it really starts to drag on you psychologically. You start to notice little artifacts of yourself that the average person is not going to notice. For example, I have this tiny bit of neck fat, and it's not really noticeable to the average person, but to me, when I look in the mirror, I see this gullet, and sometimes if I've had too much salt or not enough water, it swells up. So I think, oh my god, I'm still fat, what the fuck? And you're sort of stuck with that. You're stuck with that mentality that no matter how much you lose, there are components of your face, your cheeks, your jaw, your neck, your man boobs, that just never seem to quite go away, even though they're almost completely gone compared to what they were before. So yeah, that's been sort of the major challenge for me, is just kind of keeping my head above water, not going crazy at my family when toxic or passive aggressive shit goes on, learning to be good to myself, learning to be good to my girlfriend, and not going crazy at work. Recently, I also quit smoking. This is about week 3 of no cigarettes, and it's been mostly fine, but every once in a while something will spike and I'll get really fucking angry. And it can be minor things that have no bearing on anything whatsoever. It could be a message from my stepmom. It could be something at the factory, oh, we're doing all the heavy books today. Grrr. It's dumb, petty shit, and I'm grateful in the sense that I don't express these things very openly and loudly. I don't roll my eyes even, I don't, express anger. But it's difficult sometimes when you don't have an outlet, and you don't have a lot of time to yourself, and you're just sort of forced to to push your nose against the grindstone until things are supposed to change.